Hidy Ho neighbors, Joseph Vargas here with Plus Ultra Podcast Episode 1. That's right. This is Episode 1 for the Plus Ultra Podcast. I decided to choose Final Fantasy as the first episode for this podcast just because it means so much to me, and it's defined a lot about me, and I have nothing but fond memories of Final Fantasy and just everything that's come out of that company, Squaresoft. Or I still knew before when it was just Squaresoft, and then they merged to Square Enix. But I truly, truly love Final Fantasy. What can I tell you about Final Fantasy? Well, how about we talk a little first about Final Fantasy? What is Final Fantasy? Who is Square Enix, or Squaresoft as they were, known before? Who are they? Well, Final Fantasy is a game that came out. It actually came out in Japan, December 18, 1987. That's to give you a rough, so you can understand. It was around the same week that Phantasy Star from Sega came out. So it was just and it was only 2 months before Dragon Quest III came out. So it was like a very, very, there were other games coming out. So, but it's one of the best comeback stories I've ever heard of. So, the creator, Sakaguchi, worked on this game, and they worked a few games before Final Fantasy. I remember one being World Runner, I think. Maybe I'm incorrect, but I remember one being World Runner, where you're just running really, and you're just jumping over stuff. And I don't remember the premise of it, and I don't remember, but that is quite some time, but Final Fantasy to me is one of the best things that ever happened. But so they pretty much were becoming bankrupt. They were losing money with all these games they were making, but they weren't seeing any return back. Sorry, taking a drink, guys. But they made game after game, and then finally, Mr. Harunobu Sakaguchi, he had an idea for this game. And this game was an RPG game, similar to Dragon Quest, similar to other RPG games that were out there at the time. Almost even a little bit like Zelda, only obviously it's more turn-based than Zelda. But that Final Fantasy was a hit sensation. It just sold. It flew off the shelves. People were buying it. You had a class system. You could be a mage, a white mage, a warrior, a red mage. It was all these things. You went on these adventures. Oh my god. It was one of the best games at that time, and still is to this day, because I love Final Fantasy. I really do. And so that's the history kind of for really. And since that they've been what is it? They've been getting stuff like producing games after game, every year or something. There's spin-off games. There's just not titled ones. There's actual spin-off ones. The latest one now is Final Fantasy 15, which I played and I like. And it wasn't the best, but I still loved it. It was still okay by me. But oh, okay. So If you guys don't know, the creator of Final Fantasy, his name is Horonobu Sakaguchi. Alright, and he joined Square, like, I believe it was right out of college. I mean, and he was a young man. He was, I think he either had just turned 21 or he was already, I know he was in his very early 20s. So, but, yeah, he is the creator, and he created a great game. So, that back in the day, they were competing with Enix, because Enix had, back in the day they had Dragon Quest, but Dragon Quest is also I love. That's another series that I'll probably cover later on, but I'm for sure ride or die Final Fantasy all the way. But so they just release awesomeness after awesomeness after awesomeness. I mean, even the jingles, like all the jingles for the song, or like especially like the little victory one, like everybody knows which I'm talking about. I mean, that one has become a what's it called, like you can't not know it. It's like, you know what I mean? It's a tune, like a catchy tune that always, it'll always get a... Yeah, that's the one. But that's the version from Final Fantasy VII, which is my favorite Final Fantasy. But we'll get to that. So let's see. They got Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 3, Final Fantasy 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 14 and 12 and 11 are online multiplayer games. I used to have it first on the PS2, I had to buy the little hard drive thing, and then I also had it on the PS4, which I also love playing. It was a dope game. I really loved it. But I really love the game, and let's see. They made a whole bunch of spin-off games. They have games like Final Fantasy Tactics, which is one of my absolute favorite. It's the only one that's actually in tie with Final Fantasy VII, actually. But we'll get to that. Let's see. The first game that I was introduced to in the Final Fantasy genre ever was Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation. For the PlayStation 1. So, yeah, that was my first ever, I guess, dive into the Final Fantasy VII world, into just Final Fantasy VII or just Final Fantasy in general. It was one of the best games. I was in elementary still when that game came out. I was in elementary, and I loved that game. But when my mom got it, I remember it now. It was Christmas '97 or Christmas '98. I remember, but it was one of those two, '97 or '98. And for Christmas, we had gotten a PlayStation 1, me and my brother, and it came with, my mom got it with it. She got the Final Fantasy VII. She got Game Day '97 or Game Day '98, some football game, and Jet Moto 2. So we had 3 games. All right. So we took this up. We wanted to play, but guess what? You need a memory card. We did not know that you needed a memory card. That's right. So we started playing. We didn't really need it for the other games. Well, I guess you did to save your progress, but the game that it's selected for is Final Fantasy VII, because you really needed to save your game there, or else it would just erase every single time. So we would play Final Fantasy VII and see how far we could get every day. Like, oh, look how far I'm getting, look how far I'm getting. Like, and that was really cool. We would just go. But that got tired fast. That lasted for like 2 weeks. We did not get a new memory card for 2 weeks. Nope, nope, nope. But then we did get one. And then finally I was able to progress to the game. Me and my brother were able to progress to the game. We played it so much. We played it, we beat it. Just the whole, every time I think about Final Fantasy VII, I think of, I think of, nothing but good memories, like nostalgic. Like, so it was a good time when I was playing that game. One of the best times in my life, actually, when I was much younger. But uh, the music, the characters, I completely identified with Cloud, and I don't know why. He's always to this day have the main character of Final Fantasy VII, Cloud Strife, has been like my biggest hero, like nonstop. I can't believe that. I even have the tattoo actually of Cloud's emblem, the Cloudy Wolf tattoo, the little emblem he has. I have that tattooed on my forearm. I have the earrings. I have about 7 copies of Final Fantasy VII alone. I do have all the other games because they've come in like anthologies. I have Final Fantasy Tactics. I have Final Fantasy 8, 9. I love 8. 8 is another one that I love. I have a cool story about that one. But let's see. Final Fantasy 7. When we finally did beat it. Oh, there was a time where we got to the second disc and we could not get any further because the second disc was scratched, and it would get stuck on this one particular part where you would play as Tifa, and she was like locked up, and you had to get the key. The game would just freeze right there, and you couldn't get the key. You couldn't do anything. You couldn't escape. The cutscenes wouldn't play. Whatever. The game was scratched. But yeah. I remember it was like a few months, like that we couldn't play a few months, and then finally we I remember one day I was my cousin's house, and I was having dinner with them over there, and one of their family friends came by, their dad's friend, and he had I don't know what, but he would always come over. I don't know where he worked. He worked somewhere, but he would always come over and give them games, but just the booklet and just the discs. Like, always, just a booklet, just a disc. So that one particular day he brought one. I recognized the booklet right away. It was Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII, and we had been months without being able to play it because we didn't have the actual disc that can work now. I remember trying to convince my cousins, who I knew for a fact had no interest in the game or in the genre that it was. So I just kept pushing them, like, why do you want to keep it? Like, you guys, you know, you don't like these games. Like, you guys are just gonna use it here and throw it away and whatever. Just gonna forget about it. After some pressuring, he did finally give it to me. So yeah, I do remember. He finally gave it to me, and then let's see. And then we kept playing it, and we loved it, and we played it till the very end, and we beat it, and I maxed out the clock on that thing. I did everything. Had the golden Chocobo, you know what I mean? I got the Knights of the Round. I tried to do as much as possible in that game, and then the journey was over. Final Fantasy VII was great. I loved it. Changed my life. You know, movies came out from it. I got also the Dirge of Cerberus and the movie Advent Children, which was great, and the anime, which I believe was the Final Order or something like that. Final Order, where it's talk about Zack, his best friend, like when they got caught by Hojo and they were doing all those, they were putting Mako into their bloodstream and all that. But now skip a little bit. Now I'm in middle school. I remember my reading about the new Final Fantasy VIII, you know, and it was exciting times. Like, I would have these magazines, and they would talk about Final Fantasy VIII and how characters can change their clothes, and I remember seeing the first designs of the new Chocobo. Um, it was exciting, and then I remember one day I was playing. My brother had went to with my mom to Hollywood Video, if you guys remember that, when that was still a thing. And I remember he went, and my mom usually lets us rent a game, and so she went, and I remember I'm never gonna forget this. I was just sitting down, playing, playing something or watching TV. I don't know what, but I hear the metal door to the back of the house swing open, like, 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 that shit it hits. I hear running footsteps. It's my brother running to me, and he just puts the case in front of my eyes, the Final Fantasy VIII case that they had just put it out for rent at what's it called? Hollywood Video. I'm already forgetting it, but oh my god, I'm never gonna forget that day. Me and my brother stayed up all night playing that game together. It was one of my greatest memories that I think upon, and I like, why, it's just good times. That was a good time. We stayed up all night. I did not care. That's what we did. Like, either I would play, and then I'd watch him play, and then we would just do that, just constantly. Like, it was cool. Like, I love that game. Squall, he's not my favorite character, but I still love Squall, especially because of Kingdom Hearts and stuff. He's over there in Kingdom Hearts as Leon, but that's cool. So, I love the ending. I love the fighting. I love the music. Uh, the whole being in Balam Garden, the college feel, being in school, all that stuff really drove like drove me in. Like, it's like, wow, imagine if school, or like, this is the world, the way the world was, whatever. But I liked it. Now, Final Fantasy IX with the main character Zidane. I love Final Fantasy IX as well. It's one of my favorite games ever. I love the music, the characters, Vivi, Zidane. Oh my god, I love them. I love those characters, and I'm never gonna. Also, those are one of my greatest memories playing those games. One of my best memories ever was playing those games, and I'm never gonna forget beating that game and watching the ending with my brother for Final Fantasy IX. But yeah, great times. And then I remember it. Final Fantasy X was gonna come out, and boy, on the PlayStation 2, man, was that thing a beauty. That took me and my brother by storm. I I cannot wait. Oh my god, the Blitzball in there, Tidus, the music, the talking, the acting. It was so great. It was so beautiful. And you know what? Final Fantasy X is the first Final Fantasy to ever make me cry. I mean, yeah, I got sad when Ares died on Final Fantasy VII, but let me tell you, when Tidus Yuna falls through, Tidus and Tinus has to leave because he's a dream, and now it's time for them to wake up, and he jumps off and all that, and they say I love you. That's one of the, oh my god, most beautiful moments ever I've ever seen. Make me cry. That's right. But I love that game. Beat it. Love the story. Yuna's one of my favorite characters. And then 11 was the online one, and boy, that was dope. I remember I was playing it. My brother played it. I got my little sister into it. It was pretty cool. We would play it a lot. And then that led us to play other things like WoW and like World of Warcraft. But it was cool. Now Final Fantasy 13. Final Fantasy 13 is a weird one. Final Fantasy 13 is I don't know. A lot of people love it. I love the main character, Lightning. She's to me is like a female version of Cloud. I love it, but I could not get past the story. I don't know why. There was these two things that sounded very similar. One of them was a bad guy. The other one wasn't a bad guy. I don't know why, but I just didn't like the story. I didn't like it at all, actually. But it is. it had three sequels. It had two sequels. I mean, 13.2 and 13.3. People liked them. I mean, 10 also had a sequel, 10.2, and I'm hearing rumors that 10.3 is gonna come out soon. We'll see. But I do not really know about Final Fantasy 13. I played it. I almost got to the ending, but not even really now. But I just stopped playing it. I didn't like it. Um, but it was like linear. I don't know what. I just did not enjoy it. But Final Fantasy 14, the online one, I played. I beat the story game, the whole story for the career for the online mode, and I did a few dungeons and stuff like that. And I raised Chocobo, and I got this Magitek armor. It was cool. I loved it. I loved the experience. Final Fantasy 15. I've been waiting for that game for so long. It's been 10 years in the making. I love Noctis. I love the game. Even though you could tell that it's not finished, I still love the game. And even though I don't like the ending, I don't like that Noctis had to die. Um, I still love the game, and I actually got the platinum on the PlayStation 4 for that game. Um, so I love it. If you guys want to check out my platinums, you can find me on the PSN at all caps Cloud-Wolf-85. That's Cloud-Wolf-85. You guys want to check out my trophies, see which games. I only have like 10 platinums, I think, or not even. But I think it's 10. I'm not sure. But what else? Okay. I've been talking about the main ones, and then, but I have also played the ones for Super Nintendo: Final Fantasy 3, Final Fantasy 4, Final Fantasy 5. I also love Final Fantasy 6. All good games. I just hadn't get enough. I didn't get enough chance to play with them when I was younger, and you know I can play them at any time now. There's just so many other games to play right here. But 6 is one of the best. Um, hand downs, hand down. But as far as favorite goes, I think my favorite is of all time is Final Fantasy VII. And then so after 7, okay, so let's talk about Tactics, Final Fantasy Tactics. Final Fantasy Tactics is a PlayStation 1 game. It came out again for the PlayStation Portable, and you could, I think you could get it, I don't know where, as a classic. But I mean, you could buy it even on the App Store. Like, even now, you can just buy an app version of it, which is cool. But nothing beats the first one. The PSP one had like these cutscenes, and they changed the voice. They changed the way the guys talk. Cause in the PlayStation one, they talk like regular people. Like, what are you doing? Stop doing that. Why? And then like in the PSP one, they'd be like, "Stop thou! Where art thou going, you ruffian? You scallywag!" Like, I don't know, but I didn't care for those scenes, but I did like that they added the what was it, the Dark Knight? Is it the Dark Knight job? So now Ramza can turn into the that. But I do also have the Final Fantasy Dissidia, which I loved. And I love how in Tactics you can the whole game. I love it. Like, I remember playing the game in the first match. Me and my brother were he was right there next to me, and we were trying to play it. And we had Ramza and Delita, right? Those are the first two characters you get. We didn't know that you can choose more characters to be placed on the tiles, because we never played this type of Final Fantasy, so we don't know what to think. So we're like, oh, okay, whatever. But after a few tries, we were able. We after like what, 5 times, maybe six times. After 6 classes, we after 6 attempts, we actually beat everybody, and it was like 6 people against 2, and so it was just amazing. I fell in love with that game. That's one of my favorite games of all time. I love the music. I love the sound effects. I love everything about that game. I'm always gonna play that game. I wish it would come out a remastered version or a classic edition or something, just re-release it with trophies. So I will play that game 4 hours, I swear. But that's I love fighting in that game. I love the catching monsters and riding them and the chocobos and the cutscenes in there. I love that game. I love the lore in that game. I love the time machine where you bring Cloud, and I also like the tactics that came out for the DS. A1, A1 and A2. I love those. Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. I still love those games. I love them very much. Would love to play them again. I don't really have an outlet where I can play them right now, but I would love to play those games again because they are great games. But yep. So that let's see what else. Final Fantasy. Dirge of Cerberus. Final Fantasy VII. Dirge of Cerberus was like the only shooter game where he wasn't really. He was like running and shooting stuff. It wasn't really an RPG per se, but it was still pretty cool. Still very cool. So, but let's see. Let's see. I very much love the Advent Children movie. I recommend all you guys to go see it who haven't. But obviously you guys have seen it, so I don't even know why I'm saying that. But yeah, um, this has been an interesting first episode. I probably didn't, it's not as structured as it should be, and I'm still working on that. And I promise it's gonna be a little bit better as I keep going. But I'm just learning as I'm going. I really wanted to talk about Final Fantasy just because it is a big deal to me. I love Final Fantasy. I own all of them. I I I get lost in those worlds. It's almost as if those worlds are created just for me because I get lost in them. And um, I guess one more I'm going to talk about is Kingdom Hearts, even though it's not traditionally a Final Fantasy game, but it's Square Enix, Disney, heavily Square Enix. Final Fantasy, Disney characters. I mean, you're just adding two things that I love: Disney and Final Fantasy. Sign me up. Just it's like giving me two of the best things in the entire world: Final Fantasy and Disney together. Just stop, just stop and try from getting me into your car, Mister. You know, that's all you gotta do. You're like, those memes where it shows the it clown like show you whatever someone wants down there in the drain, and like for example, they tell me, hey, I got Final Fantasy and Disney down here, and then that's me sliding down the drain, right? I mean, I would do that for Final Fantasy, but for sure, I love Kingdom Hearts, Sora, the whole. Even though I was underwhelmed with the Kingdom Hearts 3 ending, that's not what I was. And I'm a die-hard Kingdom Hearts fan, but Part 3 it wasn't enough, really. Let's see, hopefully they can fix that, you know? And if not, we'll see where it's going to go from there. Because, I mean, Kingdom Hearts is confusing enough, and that's from a die-hard fan. But, so, this is going to be the ending for this episode, which is the Plus Ultra Podcast Episode 1. You can catch this on my Patreon, and then you can find me on patreon.com/plusultraiss. You can follow me on Twitter at @plusultraiss. And if you guys want to follow me on Twitch, you can go to twitch.tv/plusultraiss. That's right. If you guys want to support me there on Patreon, that's great. And if you guys just don't, you don't have the means to support, and you could just drop a like, share the content if you genuinely like it, subscribe maybe, and I will be making more content and more episodes about this and just other things, and I will be releasing my nostalgic podcast where I'll be talking about just like nostalgia type things, stuff that I grew up in the 90s with. But really, this has been a good first episode, I think. That's just my view, how I see Final Fantasy. So it's not like I have any particular way of viewing it. It's just my experience that I've been playing these games since elementary school, and I'm currently 33, so I've been just lots of years playing it. So, but this has been Plus Ultra Podcast, Episode 1, and until we meet next time,